Ora bem, aqui em português, para vos dizer que vocês já estão a ver em casa, eu ainda não, mas vocês já estão a ver em casa um dos pilotos que vai estar presentes no Dakar 2024. Ele é, de facto, de nome Vaidotas Zala, e uma entrevista, claro, que vai ser em inglês sobre a sua carreira. Mr. Zala, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. I will have to ask you if you can please push that button that we have arranged before starting this recording, please. Because we are not seeing, or at least I'm not seeing you, but now it's perfect. Mr. Zala, it is a great pleasure to have you here in 16 Valves. Hope that you are seeing me well or not seeing me.
I don't see you, but I see you.
Okay.
You are recording the call, so.
Yes, that's it. But the moment I believe that, okay, perfect. Mr. Zala, as I told you before, it is a great pleasure because we have a lot of talking about your career in motorsport, because you have started in rally, now you are in all-terrain, and that's a lot of things that we want to know, in this case in English. But first of all, obviously, welcoming you, it is our great pleasure. So, Mr. Zala, I was thinking about how to start this call, but for the moment I was preparing for myself for asking about the past, but I think it is urgent to call about and talking about the Dakar, and I would like to know in a simple phrase if everything is ready for this Dakar 2024. Everything, because we will talk about it later, but first of all, let's ask you if everything is ready.
Yes, I think 95-97% is ready. We still have some admin stuff to do, some tickets to book, some because there is a small team coming together and I'm managing all the stuff as well. But most of all, it's ready because for this year we are completely in the hands of X-Raid. So that means that a lot of stuff is already taken care of by the team. So it's much easier for me.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. But first of all, let us understand how did you all started, because we have seen that you have started by making rally rather than an all-terrain that you are doing at this moment. What I wanted to know is why and how did it all started? It was something about your family? It was yourself that have chosen this competition? Can you tell us more about this?
All right, so the direction I have since I was 12 years old, when my father first took me to see the rally races near Vilnius in Lithuania. And since then I've been I have only a single target in my mind, that is racing on gravel. But I had to wait for about 10 years until I managed to start my first race in a BMW, an old car, rear-wheel drive, in a very simple regional race. But since then, it's been my target number one, and it's been rather, I would say, liberating on that front, because when you have a single target for a very long time, it sort of enables you to go forward in a more robust, let's say, pace.
So, but there was no other chance rather than doing this in mud, because you could choose, for example, in Lithuania, as to say, to go to the circuits. It will be easier. Will no longer be very, as to say, very with mud at your clothes, for example.
I don't know. I've been fascinated with gravel racing and especially rally racing, and in particular, my passion is all about going very fast sideways on gravel, on loose surface. So that's all about, in very simple way, that I describe my passion about racing. So I haven't tried circuit racing for a very long time. I first tried 2 years ago. It's sort of entertaining, but it's completely different, and I'm still committed to gravel.
And I was thinking, it was easy for someone in Lithuania to start doing so. Is there, as to say, a policy for, in this case, for motorsport? The people enjoy, people are always pushing, or it was very difficult at the beginning to get the sponsors and other things?
No, I would say that it's not easy at all. We have a bit of racing culture, especially in classic rallying. Rally raid has been not popular until probably 6, 7 years ago, when the Dakar came along in full breath in the country. And since then, rally raid has become a little bit more popular, but Dakar itself is a phenomenon in Lithuania. It's very, very popular. It's probably the second most popular sport in the country. So in January, when the race is happening, everybody's following the results. And we have quite a lot of Lithuanians. I think we have 11 teams in various categories this year. But in terms of starting in classic rallying, it was very simple car, regional races, then national races. But as it is usual, the first few years we did it on our family budget. So that's why we were committed to rather simple machinery. And only when I directed my focus to Dakar, that we started to grow significantly. And then we started to attract proper sponsors, because the race itself is interesting in terms of not only national attention, but also international attention. So only since 2016, we started to manage let's say, sports marketing. And since then, 70 to 100% of our budget has been from marketing revenue. So we are acting like a small marketing agency, let's say, right now.
Okay, but in this case, we're talking about the rally. It was important for your driving skills, for example, that you are using for the moment at the Dakar and all the races, or the school from, as to say, from rally. It was only used for the Estonian rally championship that you have achieved in 2011, Lithuanian rally championship, and that's what I wanted to know, if it was a school, as to say, it has helped you for your career making rally.
I would say very much so, because classic rallying is about pushing to the very limits of the physics, because you have pace notes, so you know exactly what's coming up, and the car is very agile. It's much more light, so that means that you can push much more than you normally do in rally raids. The rally raid car is normally, for example, now we're racing a car that is 2 tons, and you have a road book which is not so accurate, which is provided by the organizer. And that means that you always have to be to provide a little bit of caution in certain places, and you have to be providing yourself that space of margin of error. And that means that learning in these kind of circumstances takes longer, because that extreme moments are not as often as in classic rallying, I would say. The technique, the driving technique, is, of course, it's different. It's very different driving 1.2 ton car rather than twice as heavy 2-ton rally raid car. So rally raid car requires more precision. You cannot go sliding so much and so on. However, you still get those unexpected jumps, sideways, big slides. And in those extreme moments, when you are caught unexpectedly high speed and you have to control the car in a dangerous situation, then the classic rallying skills help a lot, because when you start your career in classic rallying, you get used to sliding a lot and controlling the car in various directions. The only thing you need to learn when you switch to rally raid is control it in, let's say, 3D. So there are more jumps, more flying, more impact, and so on, which is less happening in classic rallying. But I would say that it is very, very useful beginning, and I would advise any driver coming or thinking of planning a career in rally raid to do at least a little bit of kilometers in classic rallying, because it helps to relax behind the wheel and absorb those unexpected, let's say, driving situations where you have to control the car sliding in a very comfortable manner.
Okay, perfect. And when you look back for all those years, and we're talking about 10 years ago, what can you recall the most? The victories or the learning curve? What do you recall before starting talking about the all-terrain?
I think there are two main things. One, the first year is the most memorable year because we had no sponsors. We had a very simple car, and my target was to push 100% every kilometer of the stage. So that is a lot of fun, but then it also means a lot of crashes. But if you're running a cheap car, that doesn't matter. You switch to used parts, you repair the car, and you go full throttle, and that is especially fun with a rear-wheel drive car. And at the beginning, if you start with the rear-wheel drive car, that means that you are becoming comfortable sliding really wide. On the other hand, when I switched to four-wheel drive, I need to adapt a lot because the handling is completely different. You use brake a lot, and the brake is the main tool of turning the car rather than accelerator when you're driving a rear-wheel drive car. The second thing was that I really improved a lot when I started using a pace note coach, because the pace notes are probably in classic rallying one of the most important elements in terms of finding your pace. If you don't have your pace notes accurate and you don't trust them, even if you have a great co-driver, that means you are not utilizing the maximum speed available. So I think only in third or fourth year that we started using pace note coach from Estonia, that we started to really push the proper speed. So after switching to four-wheel drive, it took some time to learn again, because it's a very different car. When you have four-wheel driving, the handling is very different.
Okay, perfect. Let's forget the rallies for the moment. Let's talk about Dakar, because you have started, as to say, 7 years ago. I believe that you can still recall when you have started with the Seat Leon. It was when you start with that car. I wonder if you have the idea that you wanted more and more and more once you have finished this edition, or not really that, and that only you wanted to enjoy the travel, as to say, but it all came on slightly, as to say, in these years. What can you recall, and what can you say about this adventure to making the Dakar?
Exactly, it was an adventure. It was not sport. We wanted it to be sport, and when we started to build that car in Lithuania, the T3 regulation was very different to what it is now. It was basically a T1 car with just some modifications, let's say a smaller version of T1 car. And when we entered our first Dakar, the regulation was already changing, and we got included in T1. And most importantly, the car was not as reliable as we expected. And the main lesson of the first 2 years in Dakar, racing our own built car in Lithuania, was that building the car is not the most expensive item in the balance sheet. Testing and making sure that it is reliable, this is the most expensive element of rally raid. And the first 2 years were very difficult. We had little racing. We had a lot of technical issues. On the second year, we abandoned after stage 5 with the engine issue. And it was, on one hand, it was really tough years, and it came to a very close margin to abandoning the Dakar project altogether, because switching from that, let's say, low budget Lithuanian made car to a proper T1, it was a big step financially to make. On the other hand, by making that step, we entered the race itself, and we cling on to the let's say target and the ambition to finish, and this enabled us to grow, because it is important to understand that when we entered our first Dakar in 2016, there were already 2 crews in the car category in Lithuania. So it is extremely difficult to come to be third with the same strategy. That means the same car, the T1 car, and to attract sponsorship in that sort of situation. So our strategy to enter with a completely different car, not T1 but T3, made in Lithuania and also fueled by renewable diesel, it enabled us to differentiate ourselves in terms of marketing, and enabled us to find some sponsors that normally wouldn't be involved in this kind of project. And that was a head start, tough head start for 2 years,
And then on the third year, you have changed it for the Hilux. In this case, with the Toyota Hilux from overdrive.
Yes.
You have seen that you have got to change some things, starting from the car.
Yes. Basically, we swapped to the old overdrive OTB.
Yes.
It was a big step financially, but we made a play, and it sort of paid off because our title sponsor agreed to be involved, even though our complete marketing strategy we had to throw away. We didn't have a fuel anymore, the renewable fuel. We had a car that is a factory car rather than a Lithuanian made car. So everything changed. But the most important thing, there was a fast car. It was not the top car at the moment. It was a 2017. So the OTB Overdrive was already the car that you can maximum push for top 20 maximum. But still, it was a completely different pace what we did before. So even in the first year, we finished, I think, 18th, even though we had the technical issue and we were close to finishing top 12, I think. But anyways, it was a really nice result and boosted the morale within the team and sponsors and enabled us to go forward.
Yes. And then you have changed again in 2020, in this case for the Mini, okay? But the last change, as to say, the big improvement or the big change, as to say, it was in last year, in 2023, when you have chosen the Hunter, the BRX Hunter. You have not finished this proof, but it was a rather different car that now is, to say, one of the main favorites for the winning. How it was, this experience for driving for a BRX Hunter? We'd also, at this moment, it is the time for receiving Paulo Fiuza in your team as your co-driver. How it was for driving this Hunter?
So basically, every time we made a change of car, it was a big step up. So the 2020, when we switched to Mini T1, it was from the driving perspective, it was a completely different car. It was so fast, so enjoyable to drive, and actually we managed to win the first stage in 2020. It was a big blow up in terms of riding quality. Again, in 2022, me and Paula, we realized that, okay, since the T1 Plus came along, with the T1, you are completely useless. You just cannot compete because the speed is so different. So the switch to Hunter was also, again, a big step. It was completely different car. It's so much faster, so much more pleasant to drive, can absorb the impacts at much higher speed. And it's more effective in the dunes because the wheels are so big, you have less punctures, even though on the day 2, we had quite a plenty of punctures in Arula region, but it's quite a specific region that is not normal for the rest of the race. But anyways, it was really pleasant car, very fast car. The only problem was that we had so many technical issues. We had, I think the list is about 10 or 12 technical issues we had over the race, all kinds of issues. And we stopped on the track quite many times. We had to abandon, I think, 2 stages, and the third time it was in the marathon stage, and we had to quit the race because the gearbox gave up. So it was the car was very pleasant, very fast, but it was either unlucky or other problems, other reasons, let's say. But the technical side was not satisfactory. And comparing to what, let's say, we are expecting now, and comparing the cars to, for example, to X-Ride vehicle, I think the big difference is the let's say the construction of the suspension. The big advantage of the Hunter is that it has a really low gravity center. And it handles like a big rally car, but the suspension is quite light in places. So, for example, in dunes, we had an impact, which didn't feel like a big impact, but it ripped off the front suspension. So when you have a more robust car, like a Mini, it's more likely to absorb these impacts with, let's say, with that ability to continue the race rather than tearing the wheel off. So
I believe it was a good times, and that's the perfect occasion for us to switch for, in this case, for this year in 2024. It will start in 6th of January. Now it's the perfect time to talk about it. What is your expectation? Because now you have returned for a mini, but in this case in the plus category, also with the Paulo Fiuza at your side. Talking about this, let's talk a little bit about Paulo. What can you tell us before anything else? It is a rather different co-driver because you have tried always the same co-driver that you always used. It was whole use. I believe this is the way for selling his name, Jorgalonas. Okay. But you are with Paulo since 2021. And I would like to know, first of all, how it is getting with Paulo that you know it. I'm sure that you already knew him from other X-Ride races, but having him on your side, how it was. Tell us something about Paulo.
When we started racing with Paulo, I was very lucky because he was a much higher caliber sports person than myself. Because the year before or 2 years before he managed top 3 with Peter Hansel. So he already was a co-driver with many years of experience and very solid reputation. And the only reason I managed to have an agreement with Paulo is because his driver for the race 2021 abandoned the start idea only, I think, a couple of months to the start. I think it was end of October or November. And I was asking Tobias from X-Rate for a proper co-driver for many months, and this opportunity opened up. And so by luck,
why not?
We happened to be in the same car, and I was very impressed. Of course, the first year was very unlucky for us because due to engine and clutch issues, we stopped, abandoned race in the stage 2. But anyways, Paulo was a completely top level co-pilot. I mean, looking back in the last 3 races, we're gonna be doing our 4th Dakar together now. Mm-hmm. In those 3 races, we had so little navigation errors. It's unbelievable. Sometimes it feels like Paulo is smelling where to go. Like it's crazy. Even if we have a little bit of uncertain situations, you see from the tire marks that the cars running in front were a bit lost in some places. It takes him a few minutes and he knows where to go. So it's unbelievable. In 3 years, we had only probably one big navigation error where everybody was lost. If you remember that place where Carlos Sainz lost maybe 1 hour.
The waypoint.
Yeah, it was a very complicated place. So it was probably the only place that we could properly lost where everybody got lost. But for the rest of the 3 years, it was unbelievable. His track record as a co-driver is just crazy. It feels like he's making almost no mistakes. More importantly, he's a good driver himself. He does some classic rallies in Portugal, and it helps in some places where, let's say, it's tricky for me as a driver to manage all the visual information I have in front of me. So, for example, in the riverbeds, when you have so much to follow, you have the track, you have to maintain your cap and so on. Paulo sometimes has also helped me with additional information. For example, he notices that some ditches coming up or that we can cut on the right, on the left. He always gives me this additional information, which is really big advantage from the co-driver because not all co-drivers do that. You have to be a really comfortable co-driver in your position.
And it was also with Paulo that you have achieved your best result in 11th place there in 2022. So it was his work, or it was your work, or it was both work?
It's always 50-50, but you have to bear in mind. You have to bear in mind that in 2022 we already had I think in T1 category it was not official at that year, but we were a number 2 car, so the rest of the cars were T1 plus. So I think we did a good job. The only reason we managed only 11th place is because we were running the old category vehicle. And this year is the upcoming Dakar is extremely important opportunity for us because this is a second chance to run with a proper vehicle, with a proper team that is at a very competitive level to compete with the top guys. So in the last 8 years, we had only few opportunities like that. So that's why it's really, I'm looking forward to that.
And do you think now you can give me this answer? You are with everything ready, because you are talking about 95%. What is missing in this 5%?
It's administrative stuff, some tickets to buy, some organizational stuff. In terms of sporting perspective, we are completely ready. The car is ready.
The car is already there?
The car is on the way. So
on the way from Barcelona?
Yes. But X-Rate did a great job preparing the car. We're going to have two of our Lithuanian mechanics working on the car together with X-Rate. And they already spent a week in November working on the assembly of the car. And they were impressed that everything is in terms of preparation is top level. So I'm really hopeful that we have a good chance to have a reliable and fast car.
You have already seen where the Dakar will pass on. Do you think this edition will be very special, because you will have in one stage of 48 hours, as we have already seen? What do you expect from that challenging stage?
I think the challenge, these kind of marathon stages, they are also always a little bit inconvenient, because you're used to your motorhome, and suddenly you have to sleep in a tent and in the middle of nowhere. So the chrono stage, the 2 stages without any proper bivouac, it is a little bit of extension of the normal marathon model. But I think the big challenge is the marathon model itself, where you have 2 stages, especially in the empty quarter dunes, without a technical assistance. So if you have a major technical issue, like we did last Dakar with the gearbox on the first marathon day, then you are screwed, you're out. So these kind of marathon stages, the big challenge is to maintain the technical integrity of the vehicle, as well as managing your attempted speed, So I think that's the big challenge. On the other hand, on the way back, the penultimate stage again will be in Alula, infamous stage from the last edition, where a lot of drivers, including ourselves, we had tire issues. So I'm not really looking forward to that stage. But on the other hand, Goodrich provided new model tires, and from what I heard from Morocco, they hold up these kind of impacts a little bit better. But still, it's going to be, I think, the greatest challenge of the upcoming Dakar will be the penultimate stage from Alula towards Yambu, because it's a lot of stones. It's a very long stage. In terms of the estimate by the organizer for the top car in the stage, it's going to be a longest stage as well. And the stone consistency in that region is crazy. It's crazy sharp. It's unbelievable what the suspension and the tires have to endure. So I think this is going to be the biggest challenge of the race, not the dunes. The dunes are always tricky and challenging, but in terms of rating, the biggest challenge is, I think, the penultimate stage is going to be where the cars can change a lot.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, Mr. Zala, we have already talked about the past, also the present days, but let's talk a little bit about the future, because I see that you are very committed for this compromise to Dakar. I believe it was the preparation for a 2024 season. This one is the first step for the World Cup. What are you going to do in 2024? I believe with Paulo. But what will you do for this next season?
Frankly, Dakar has been taking, let's say 80-90% of our budget every year. So that's the major project. The rest I can manage only national races in Lithuania. In this summer, we were lucky that one of our current sponsors, Unique, by Luis Santos, provided us opportunity to race the T1 Plus X-Rate vehicle in the Baja Aragon. So, if that happens next year, I would be very, very grateful and lucky, because this is an opportunity for us to train in the rally raid vehicle rather than classic rally vehicle. and that race is really enjoyable and technical, and provides a chance to compete again with top level pilots. But in terms of planning ahead, my major headache is always the Dakar. If I manage the Dakar budget, that's the target is achieved. The rest, it might happen in the future, in the maybe more distant future, but managing the financial side of the World Cup, World Championship, it's twice as much or maybe even more as the Dakar budget. So for now, it's just it seems a little bit too ambitious. Even in managing the T1 Plus vehicle in the factory team from the country of 2 million people back in Eastern Europe, it's a massive challenge. And I'm always dreaming about more, but I need to be patient.
Okay, so this is the perfect time also to talk about Unique, as you told before, the Luís Santos team. Is there a chance, if you get the right time for talking with the Luís, to get you here in our championship, in the Portuguese championship? Because we have already seen there are some teams also from Netherlands, for example, that want to race to here in Portugal, because I believe they think that this is a good preparation. In your case, it is a chance for you to race here in Portugal during a championship, or you want more than simple races here in Portugal? Because I've seen that you have a good friendship with Luís and also Francisco, his son, and all the team from Unique, and also with Paulo. Portugal is calling you, or not exactly?
No, I'm really happy to do any kilometers that I can in the rally raid vehicle, and Portuguese Championship is very competitive. I've seen so many.
I've lost you. I'm not seeing you now for the moment. I believe that some call has entered.
Yeah.
Yes, but now it's perfect.
Yes. So I was saying that Portuguese Championship is very competitive, and I had an opportunity to watch the race from the spectator position a couple of years back with Paulo, and I was very impressed. A lot of competitive cars, very nice speed, and very technical tracks. So I would be very lucky to have this opportunity. Luís already did a lot by providing us a chance to race in Baharagon. If by some chance he has a possibility to open us a seat in the Portuguese Championship, it's going to be 1 or 2 or 3 races. It doesn't matter. Any chance for me is a great chance. I love racing, and any kind of racing is a pleasure for me. But it's a bit too early to speak about what might happen exactly next year. Currently, our focus is on the Dakar. Luís already also helped us a lot, pushing for this start in the upcoming Dakar, and I'm very grateful for his assistance. Probably some people know in Portugal that he was the one that bought our Mini that we raced in 2020, 21, and 22 Dakars. So I got to know him through Paulo, and now after this 1 year, I'm becoming even more involved in Portugal, and I visited Portugal so many times that I'm thinking it's my second home now. Yeah.
Okay, we want it. We want to receive you in the good conditions, so this is the good way. So my last proposal for you, Mr. Zala, because we are ending for the moment, I would like to ask you if you can do it in your own language, as to say in Lithuanian language, giving the thank you or appreciating the sponsors, and also for someone that it was in your side when you needed, maybe in your own language. I provide you this 1 minute, or believe 2 minutes in the maximum, for yourself to thank you for the opportunity with those that has believed in you when you started by making, in this case, rallies and then Dakar. Do you want to get this chance for the thank you in Lithuanian language? I will not understand. You believe that I don't understand anything?
I think we can do it in English, because I think many Lithuanians understand.
Okay. But if you want in Lithuanian, please be my guest.
Šitie metai šitas startas yra labai ypatingas mums, nes tai yra antra galimybė vėl išvažiuoti su konkurencinga komanda, su konkurencingu automobiliu, ir dėl to aš esu labai dėkingas visiems mūsų komandos partneriams, kurie prisidėjo prie ateinančio starto, nes tai buvo labai plonytė linija tarp likimo namie ir išvažiavimo varžybas. Ir tik tai visų partnerių bendrom pastangom mes būsime startę sausio 5 dieną. Tai ypatingas ačiū yra mūsų naujam pagrindiniam partneriui Airijus, pat visiems mūsų ilgalaikiam komandos partneriam, Unique, Šiaulių bankas, RNDV, Škoda, Husqvarna. Tai visiems didelis ačiū ir tikimės, kad sausio mėnesį mūsų rezultatai pateisintos lūkesčius.
Okay, I've seen that you have. Thank you for the sponsors. I understood that it was for the bankers and all the things. Okay, Mr. Zala, for me it is done. I will have to thank you for the opportunity to have you here before the Dakar. I wish you all the best, starting in 6th of January. I believe that's the first day, the competitive day. And, right?
I think the 5th is the prologue,
okay.
which is all about the starting order, but the proper stage is the 6th, yeah.
Okay, so I wish the best of luck for you and also for Paulo. And for myself, I would like to have you again anytime that you want and anytime that you have some news. Please be the welcome here in 16 Válvulas from Portugal. It was a pleasure, Mr. Zala, and have a happy, good and a good year, in this case 2024. It will be the fastest way for getting this year. Thank you, Mr. Zala. Thank you for the opportunity. Bye-bye.